Hey everybody, I am back with an update on my modeling for Eldar. One thing I'm not going to do a special video for this, but I'll just mention and maybe put in the title that this is just around 1 year for my channel. I think, I believe it was the 28th, and so just about a day or two late in addressing that. But, you know, great. It's great to actually have met a lot of the people that I have through the channel, and I really enjoy putting up videos and watching other people's videos for both 40K and other games as far as painting and modeling and terrain. And so thanks to all my subscribers, and you know, I really appreciate you guys that regularly make comments and give me insight into this hobby. So with that said, I thought that it would be a good idea that I paint my Falcon, because I really wasn't in a rush for whatever reason to do this. I've had lots of models to paint, and for whatever reason this was just that model that it's not that I didn't want to do it, but I just hadn't gotten around to it. And I'm really glad that I did, because I've quite enjoyed painting it. I'll talk a little bit about the Falcon, just some thoughts. As you know, I'm not an expert in the game. I've just been playing a bit, but I do have some opinions on it, and I'm just going to express them. But I want to just talk about the model and how I painted it. So I did use, for those of you, it wasn't a very popular video because I didn't show a mini in it. And I think that's why I didn't get a lot of views on it, but I put a video up of my Createx paint review. And that Createx paint, the forest green, is what I actually used here on this model. I enjoyed the way it came out. It did, for sure. When you look in here and you see it a little darker here, not just the vines I penned in, and I'll talk about that in a second, but even here, that is, for me, you know, painting black. And it is definitely lighter here. Let's get a pointer. There's definitely lighter there for me painting it white, and just it was very bright. And now granted, I did do an oil wash on this, and that balanced it out quite a bit. It came out a lot brighter than, let's say, the typical dark green that I use for Biel Tan. I'm okay with that for a number of reasons. One, this is the first time I painted with it on a model, and so in some ways it was a test for me. I like the way it came out, but also I'm going to be using this a lot for fire dragons, and my fire dragons actually are quite bright compared to the rest of my army. For those of you that saw my video, you'll remember that. I'll just show them here just real quick. My fire dragons are my interpretation of Biel Tan's fire dragons, and they're really bright. They're different than a lot of my other Biel Tan. And so I think it's nice, like, you know, like their vehicle is kind of bright too, you know, so it's still green, but it's a bit of a bright green. I used just, you know, pure white to try to simulate sort of wings, you know, here. I know other people have done this before in their Falcons, but I kind of like that, that pure white just on the sides here. I did do a black oil wash, which I think really caused it to really stand out well. I painted my first time that I can remember doing freehand. I painted thorns. So this is the first Eldar model where I've put on my Biel Tan the thorns, which are very typical for a Biel Tan, but I was scared to death to do it, to be honest. The freehanding is an area that I've very reluctantly ventured into because I thought it would look cool, and because it's Biel Tan, I thought eventually I have to suck it up and do this. With that said, I'm quite happy with the look. You know, I think from a distance on the tabletop, they look okay. You know, I'm not going to say that they're fantastic, but I think they look okay. To be honest, for those of you that are painting Biel Tan, if you want to know what I did, if you're just curious, I experimented a bit with some different pens, because, to be honest, I just really didn't feel like using a brush would be the right thing to do for me at this time to try to paint vines and thorns. So I used pens to do it, and I went to Michael's and I got this Copic sketch pen. I got this, it's sort of a Micron pen. It's called the Recollections, it's the brand, Micron. These are all in dark greens, essentially. This one seemed really dark. And then, you know, I saw this Bic, just a normal Bic in a green, and I ended up using that pen, this pen as well. And I use them on paper. Granted, the paper tends to soak up, you know, the ink a bit, and it blots, and it's not as accurate as on a model. When it all was said and done, the Sharpie is actually the one that I ended up using, and it was the cheapest one of the three. It just, the tip and the way it actually accepted ink on the model, everything about it. It's darker, a little darker than it appears if you look at that tip on the actual cap. It was what I ended up going with, and ended up working well. So I've got my two drivers in here. Okay, and I've magnetized this piece here, magnetized the weapons and the weapon cover, magnetized this guy down here. I have magnetized, well, first of all, here's a shot of the back, and I actually think that this variation in color was pretty apparent from the top down here. I actually made it a little brighter at the top, and I don't know if you can see that on camera with my fluorescence, but there is a bit of a gradation and shading of the green to show how it's a little darker down here. I actually like the way that came out. I've got my Biel Tan symbol here. I magnetized the door, and I've got a little falcon symbol on the inside. So when I don't have anything to do, which is all the time because I'm into Warhammer and I paint and model, but when I don't have anything to do, I can kind of, you know, shove my guys in the back and they can look at the sticker. And so so magnetized so it actually stays closed. I just need to push a little bit there, but that actually worked out pretty well. But hey, that's the Falcon. I've painted it. I've got it off of the list of things to do. Got to experiment with thorns. Got to use transparent paint. Used my oil wash technique on a flat model, which I've not done before. Just to give a top view. That's sort of, let me pull out here a bit, the way it looks. It was nice to try. Now, lesson learned, if I want it to be darker, don't use as much white is what I have to tell myself. But when I spray paint this, rather than paint it like I did, I believe I painted it all a gray, but then I sprayed a lot of white over it, and then I just put some black and just some really dark areas. I think next time I will try it with primarily using the gray primer, putting a lot of dark where I want it to go, and if I want anything to be bright at all, a little bit of white. Because to begin with, this stuff is really thin. It's hard to get a really dark look when you start really bright. And so I ended up with a much brighter green than maybe what I was intending initially, but I'll be honest, as it was coming out, I thought, oh, this looks pretty cool. I kind of like it. And so yeah, one little point. For those of you that have been around a while watching my channel, here's my wave serpent and the style I used for it. Quite different. They're going to look different on the table. I'll have no problem telling the difference between the two. Please tell me if you know what you think of the one style versus the other. I'm just kind of curious. This style for me, admittedly, was a much easier job, and I did it earlier in my painting career. I did go through and do bad up black and like all of the edges here. This is essentially green Games Workshop green ink. So I covered it in green ink, and I did a little bit of dry brushing with some lighter green. I think it's called the moot green, just to get like a bit of a stippled effect. I didn't get a major stippled effect. It's kind of minor, but you can see it there. And so, yeah, you know, this is a little bit more in line with my army as far as the darker green and the history of what I'm, you know, got there. But, you know, this look maybe preferable to some, you know, and even though it was easier for me to do and I did it earlier on, you know, in my painting, this one took quite a bit more out of me. I tried a lot more things, and you know, I like the cleanness of it. I like the you know, the oil, the way the oil wash makes the lines really stand out, and you know, I do think that that it came out pretty good, but I actually like this look too, so interested in your thoughts. So I'll just put some still photos just to show some close-ups, not under this fluorescence, of the skimmer. And next up, I am going on a vacation for 2 weeks after this week, and so my plan is to have my Echardelon Dragon done with the video this week. I'm pretty much done, I just have had other things going on. And I'll be going on vacation for a couple of weeks, and then I'll be coming back and it will be warp spiders. Before I then hit a lot of the new models I've bought with the release of the Eldar, like the Wraith Knight and the Flyer, the Crimson Hunter. Those are going to be close up after that shortly. So thanks everybody for watching. I'm glad the channel is actually going on after a year, and take care.